Yeah.
Am I audible?
So it is only one slide is visible at one time, correct?
Yeah.
Very good. So we will start now.
Yes, sir, please.
Give me 1 minute. Yes, and let me put it here. Yeah. If I change the slides, change it. So, good evening to everybody, and greetings from snowy Norway. Today, I'm going to speak with you regarding strategic utilization and coordination of electric vehicle fast charging infrastructure. All of us, we know that we have to move towards sustainable resources with objective how we can reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. We are aware that the transport sector is significant contribution towards the greenhouse gas emission. Considering that background into account, we have to move forward for sustainable mobility, in which electric mobility is going to contribute significantly. We know that Indian government has agreed that by 2017 going to be net zero, and many of the developed countries, they agreed to be net zero by 2050. Also, we have seen that by 2030 we want to increase the renewables by 3 times, for which most of the countries have agreed, including India. Considering all this background into account, we have to move forward. If we are going to get high penetration of electric vehicles, so how we are going to manage the charging of that? How we have to develop fast charging infrastructure, and how strategically we have to utilize the available resources by coordinating the heterogeneous users at high demand side. That is going to be the key focus of today's lecture. We know that Indian government has agreed to increase the electric mobility through some incentive programs, but that increasing penetration of electric vehicles are going to create a lot of technical operational challenges within the distributed network for fulfilling the expected demand. When we are trying to fulfill the expected demand of upcoming electric vehicles, naturally, we have to follow some standards for charging them. In future, most of the electric vehicles, they will be charged at the fast charging station rather than at the domestic charging. I will explain that also. But then we are doing the charging using some international standards and want to develop the fast charging station. We may need to work on developing appropriate operational architecture for that fast charging station, whether it will be based on AC microgrid architecture or maybe DC microgrid architecture also. Then, when we are talking about the fast charging station, we have to consider that how we are going to deploy that, what type of resources are going to be available there, and considering the demand also, we have to see that how we can design, develop, and deploy the fast charging station. That also we will try to include in this lecture. Then at the same time, at a fast charging station, we know that with reference to the time, there is going to be some limitations of the available supply. Therefore, we need to do the appropriate charging coordination for the heterogeneous users. So that is going to be again a challenging operational point. And then I'm going to provide you some conclusion with reference to the fast charging station, charging management, or strategic utilization of the resources for heterogeneous user. So that is going to be the overview of today's lecture. Now, with reference to the background, if we consider the global view, we know that the electric vehicle penetrations are increasing exponentially. If we consider the scenario as it is, that scenario is called as a state scenario. Then by 2030, around 140 million vehicles will be on the road. But what we have seen that with reference to the sustainable development scenarios and contribution in reducing the CO2 emission, let's say if we call it as a sustainable development scenario. In sustainable development scenario, by 2030, the expected electric vehicles may be around 240 million vehicles on the road globally. Out of that, you will notice that the major contribution is going to be battery electric vehicle in the category of passenger vehicles, and then some contribution is going to come from plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, commercial battery electric vehicles, commercial plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. Overall, we have seen through this figure 1 that there is going to be exponential increase of electric vehicles as per the analysis done by International Energy Agency. To fulfill this expected growth of vehicles, there will be electricity demand, which is also going to increase. So if we take the as it is a scenario, that is a state scenario, then in 2030, around 5 times increase into the electricity demand will be there with reference to the 2019. But taking into account the sustainable development scenario, you can see that the expected energy demand by 2030 is going to be increased by 11 times with reference to the 2019 demand. In that, we can see that most of the demand is coming from the light duty vehicles. So overall demand by 2030 is going to be around 1000 gigawatt hour for electric vehicle charging. So now here we got the idea that with reference to the increasing exponential penetration of electric vehicles, the expected electricity charging demand is also going to increase exponentially. So how we are going to manage that? Right? So that is a very interesting point. Now here you got the idea, right? Heavy charging demand is going to be there. Now, if we consider the vehicle architecture according to their propulsion system, we know that internal combustion engine, it is a well-proven technology, so we are not considering that one. Mainly we are considering on charging demand of battery electric vehicles and plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. And of course, we are also not considering the demand of hybrid electric vehicles and fuel cell electric vehicles and fuel cell hybrid electric vehicles. I did some work on fuel cell vehicles, But in today's lecture, we will try to focus on providing the energy or the electrical energy for the battery electric vehicles and plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, maybe with more focus on battery electric vehicles. Now, considering the different or various leading manufacturers of automotive sector, we can see that those leading manufacturer, international leading manufacturer, they are supplying or selling the electric vehicles into the market with very high capacity. Now, for example, if I take the BMW i3, now this BMW i3 is not sold into the market because it is going to have very low capacity and it has the autonomy of only 359 kilometers. But now BMW is manufacturing and selling the electric vehicles. Here I have not included that one, which has the range of around 500 kilometers and it has the capacity of around 80 to 90 kilowatt hour. Now, if we consider the overall market scenario, in overall market scenario, most of the leading car manufacturers are moving towards to have the electric vehicles which have the very high capacity and higher autonomy. For example, if we take the Tesla Model Y, which has a power of 465 kilowatt and its battery capacity is 100 kilowatt hour, and it has the autonomy range in the typical driving cycle around, let's say, 500 kilometers. So now here you can see that the demand of supply demand for this Tesla Model Y is required 100 kilowatt hour. Similarly, you can see for remaining car manufacturer, overall, the conclusion from this table is that most of the leading manufacturer, they are manufacturing the electric vehicles, right, with very high battery capacity to have higher range of autonomy. Okay, so it means that there is going to be a very heavy demand, and this heavy demand within a short period of time cannot be fulfilled by the domestic charger. And for that, we required to have fast charging station, right? And to fulfill that fast charging station demand, here we can see that there are different type of chargers are available. Now here you can see that AC level 1, AC level 2. Now this AC level 1, AC level 2 chargers, they are not going to be used in the commercial level, but they may be used within the domestic purpose. But in the market, when we are going to develop the fast charging station, so DCFC means direct DC, fast charging stations are going to be there. And there is a very good relationship between the daily distance traveled and how we can do the number of daily fast charging events, right? So that is a very interesting scenarios which have been analyzed. So we will not go in much more detail about this scenario, but our objective is that with reference to the increasing battery capacity of the commercial vehicles, it is our duty to fulfill that charging demand within a short period of time, right, by developing the fast charging station. Therefore, here you can see that 3 stages have been considered. First stage, that is the charging stage. So today's lecture is mainly focusing on the stage 1, that is the charging stage. We are not considering in this lecture about the second stage, that is the battery stage, and the powertrain stage. We are treating these commercial electric vehicles as a black box, as a one unit, and our duty is that to develop the fast charging station and fulfill the charging demand as considering the local available resources, considering the distributed energy network constraints also, and these charging stage scenarios are also going to be different for different location. As we know that our distributed network has different capacity and different type of distributed energy sources. They might have been included there, different type of driving patterns, different type of driving cycles also. Therefore, considering the research and to make it more commercialized or to get it implemented into the field, we need to do more further work on charging stage. When we are working on this charging stage, overall, we have to utilize some of the standards which have been developed widely around the world. For example, for general standards, that is IEC 61851, right? So we may utilize these standards for developing this fast charging station. And when we have this fast charging station, of course, the communication of data is also going to be there, and that communication data has to be collected or managed by using some international standard, that is ICC 6185124, and so on and so forth, right? So considering all these factors and available international standards, we need to work on developing fast charging station, deploying it, and managing the charging of the electric vehicles with reference to the available resources that we are going to discuss now. Now, when we are talking about the fast charging, so here you can see that some of the international standards, they have been given in this table 3. For example, if we consider the CCS type 2, which is widely used within the Europe, and it is utilizing the IC 629163 standard, right? And I believe that in India also, in most of the fast charging stations, CCS type 2 standards will be available, will be used. And then, but if you take the Tesla, so they have their own standards also. So if we consider, let's say, CCS type 2 charging pole, right? So one charging pole is having the maximum capacity of 350 kilowatt. Now, some of the CCS type 2, they are coming up 400 kilowatt also. Now, one charging pole is having the capacity of, let's say, 350 kilowatt, and at one fast charging station, if we are going to implement or integrate 10 charging poles, so then the demand at that fast charging station is going to be around 3.5 megawatt, which is a very high within a distributed network. There are some work on CHAdeMO standards also, and it is expected, not CHAdeMO, CHAoG standard. So it is expected that in a couple of years' time, this CHAoG standard will also be available, which is going to have the combination of CHAdeMO and GPT. And here you can see that maximum capacity of this one charging unit, right, or pool is going to be 900 kilowatt, right? So here you got the idea that when we are working on developing the fast charging station and utilizing the international standards, and of course we have to utilize that one. So how the expected demand is going to be increased within a distributed network for fast charging station. And of course, we have an idea that our distributed network or distributed electrical energy network is already overloaded. And when we are going to develop this fast charging station, so it may create another additional burden on the distributed network. And how then we have to overcome that, we will discuss briefly in this today's lecture. Okay, so now you got the idea that to fulfill the expected high demand of commercial electric vehicles, which requires very high capacity of energy within a short period of time, which we cannot fulfill by using the domestic chargers. Therefore, by using the international standards, we need to move towards developing fast charging station. So if we are going to develop the fast charging station, these fast charging stations are going to create megawatt level extra demand within the distributed network. So how we are going to fulfill that one? Now, let's say if we take some statistics here, and let's come on the table 5. And if I take, let's say, Tesla Model 3, and Tesla Model 3 has the, let's say, battery capacity around 72.5 watt hour, and its range is, autonomy range is 450 kilowatt. But if we want to charge this Tesla Model 3 electric vehicles from state of charge 20% to 80% in 15 minutes, that is going to become the standard now. Within the 15 minutes, we want to charge our vehicles from 20% to 80%. So within that 20 to 80%, you see that how much required average charging power is going to be there within that 15 minutes. That is going to be around, let's say, 175 kilowatt. But utilizing this charging power, right, over the 15 minutes of time, and by increasing the charging capacity from 20% to 80%, we are gaining only 250 kilometers. Still, we are not moving towards the 450 kilometer to 50 kilometer. So that is going to be the market demand. So now, with reference to this market demand, you can see that different manufacturers, they are going to have very higher capacities of the battery due to the reduction into the battery capacity and increasing in battery technologies and so on and so forth. So this high demand within the short period of time, we have to fulfill. Then you can see that with how the average demand within the 15 minutes is going to be there. Let's say if I take Tesla Model S, which has a higher battery capacity compared to the Model 3, that within 15-minute time, it is going to create on one charging pool the average demand up to 28 kilowatt. And within that, from 20% to 80%, we are gaining only 250 kilometers, right? So you got the idea now, like how the expected high demand is going to be there to fulfill this commercial electric vehicles which will be on the road. And now if you consider the typical Indian distributed energy network limitations, right? So how it is going to be there? Let's say if we are at that fast charging station, for example, if we are charging 10 Tesla model in parallel, so around with average load for the 15 minutes charging from 20% to 80%, it is going to be around 2.3 megawatt load. So that is a huge load. Okay. And now let's say if we consider the typical range which we gain per minute of the charge, in 1 minute of charge, we are using the Tesla supercharger, for example, like we are gaining 13.15 kilometer, and time to charge for 200 kilometer, like how much time is that? Is 30 minutes. So we have the 15-minute average here, right? So that is going to be the expected time period for charging the electric vehicles from 20% to 80%. Now here, you may get another question in your mind. Many of the researchers or many of the people, they are also discussing about vehicle to grid. But here we are discussing from grid to vehicle. But you see, now within the 15 minutes, we are charging our high capacity electric vehicles, right? And we got it charged. So we will not discharge that one because you see how the demand is going to be increasing. So that vehicle to grid, right, may be good for the academic purpose, but may not be practical for the field. Okay. So now we will move to the next point. So we got the idea. We need to have the fast charging station. That fast charging station architecture, either it may be based on the AC distribution network or it may be based on the DC distribution network. Let's say if we consider the AC distribution network, so basically it is going to be operating this fast charging station based on AC microgrid architecture. And this AC microgrid architecture may be in a position to manage the dispatchable source with reference to the change in the demand and considering the frequency deviation here and providing the power through this energy storage or maybe any other distributed generators which might have been connected here. One of my PhD students, he did wonderful work on developing his fast charging station using AC microgrid architecture and by integrating energy storage, different type of energy storage, and also solar photovoltaic also. And then if we move towards the another architecture, let's say that is a DC microgrid architecture. So the DC microgrid architecture is very important. And in my personal view, it may get implemented into the future because we are eliminating AC to DC conversion units from each pole. And here with the DC microgrid architecture, we have to maintain the voltage, DC voltage sustainability on the DC bus. That may be quite easier compared to the AC microgrid architecture. With reference to this DC microgrid architecture for the electric vehicle fast charging station, one of my PhD students, he did wonderful work and in which he integrated hydropower plant or mini micro hydropower plant and developed a very interesting topology. And in that interesting topology or control algorithm, he was in a position to change the turbine input with reference to the voltage variation as per the demand of the loads to maintain the voltage sustainability. So that work is again very interesting. And then we continued that work using some piecewise group functionality. Then second PhD also completed on that one. And we developed a very good framework for developing fast charging station using DC microgrid approach. I'm not providing you too much technical details about that, but the most of the publication related to the AC microgrid architecture of the fast charging station as well as DC microgrid architecture coupled with the dispatchable power source. In that case, it is a mini micro hydro generator. How that control function have been developed, those work have been disseminated or published in peer-reviewed journals and the conference proceeding, and most of them are the open access. So you can feel free to explore them, utilize them for your research, teaching, or working for the government on developing fast charging station architecture also. Then let's say if we are going to use AC architecture, and within the AC architecture, of course, we can have the centralized energy storage that is going to be required because just now in the previous slides, we have seen that there is going to be expected megawatt demand, and that expected megawatt demand may not be in a position to provide at that particular instance from the grid or from the distributed network. So we may need to utilize the energy storage or distributed generation. To reduce the sizing of the main energy storage, there may be possibility to have the distributed energy storage, and we can do the appropriate power management as well as the energy management using distributed energy system also, because we are going to have some limitations of the power or the grid constraints at that particular time period when we are going to have the expected high demand of the electric vehicles. So here, considering the high level perspective, you got the idea that for we need to develop the fast charging stations. We need to integrate the international standards, And when we are integrating the international standards of the fast charging at the kilowatt level, 350 kilowatt or 400 kilowatt, then of course we need to develop the fast charging station. That fast charging station, depending on the local resources available, either we can go for the AC microgrid approach or DC microgrid approach also, and then we can consider the integration of distributed energy storage and so on and so forth. So this research work or this work is going to be a very location specific. Why it is going to be a location specific? Because we know that the driving patterns at a particular location or in a particular region is going to be very different compared to other regions. For example, rural area may have the different driving patterns. Urban area may have the different driving patterns. Similarly, urban area distributed network may have the different type of the loads, and rural area they may have the different technical constraints also. So considering all these factors into account, we need to work considering the region specific technical parameters, operational parameters for developing fast charging station, for designing, deploying, and doing the operation management. Now, with reference to the previous slide, we can see that let's say if we are going for the DC based architecture or DC microgrid architecture, what I was mentioning here, with reference to the expected dynamics of the electric vehicle demand, we are going to have the varying bus voltage. So objective is how we have to make the sustainability of the voltage, one point. Second point, using that voltage variation signals, how we can integrate here further, how we can integrate further here dispatchable sources, right? So that they can provide the power within this DC microgrid and reducing the impact on the main grid also. So then we can utilize different type of configuration, for example, using SST transformer or making it isolated also, so on, so forth. Okay, but now another architecture which may come in future, so that is related to the hydrogen energy storage. But in today's lecture, we will not focus on hydrogen energy system or using hydrogen as an energy carrier for fulfilling the expected demand of the electric vehicles. But I did this some work related to the hydrogen energy system, producing the decentralized hydrogen by using renewable energy sources and utilizing it through the fuel cell for the automotive applications long back around 25 years before. But in today's lecture, we will not focus on that one. But here you can have some idea that it is possible to integrate hydrogen as an energy carrier within this microgrid also, and then we can use this hydrogen for the fuel cell based electric vehicles also. But in today's lecture, we will not focus on that one. Now here we are coming on the key point of fast charging station deployment and operation mechanism management. That is the key point here, and that I'm going to explain you here. Now, in the previous slides, we discussed about the fast charging station designing or maybe fast charging station requirements, how the capacity is going to be there. We have seen different type of car manufacturer are going to have their different models with different requirements also and different demand also, right? So it means that it is going to be a complete heterogeneous function. If we complete that one, if we consider that one, if they at this fast, are you able to see my screen now properly? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
And
sir. Yes,
my
sir.
cursor also you can see?
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Very good. Now we have to focus here on the fast charging station. We have seen that at the fast charging station, we may have a number of charging poles. These charging poles, for example, may have the capacity of 350 kilowatt, one charging pole, right? And we have a number of charging poles here. Now, this charging station, whether we are using the AC microgrid architecture or DC microgrid architecture, depends, right? But overall, the electric vehicles, they are here. And these electric vehicles, they are going to be the heterogeneous. Okay? Why heterogeneous? Because every car model is going to have different capacity, 1 point. Second point, every user may have different demand also, depending on their driving patterns also. So based on that requirements, whatever the electric vehicles, they have been connected at the fast charging station, they are going to make some charging request. This charging request is again going to be evaluated by using some communication channel. And already I have mentioned that there are some specific standards for the communications within the fast charging station or within this charging pools. So through that, those communication protocols, these electric vehicles, heterogeneous electric vehicles, right, depending on their requirement, depending on the model, they are going to make some request to this fast charging station. But this fast charging station at that particular time, right, may have some limitations of the supply from the distributed network. Okay. So based on the expected, based on the required demand of the electric vehicles, this fast charging station operator will communicate that information to distributed system operator regarding the charging plan or the load demand within a particular time period. And what we have seen earlier, that it is expected that in the fast charging station, around 15-minute time is going to be a key point for making charging from 20% to 80%. So let's say within that 15-minute of time, right, depending on the charging request, this fast charging station operator is going to make the request to the distributed system operator that this much charging plan or load demand is there. But this distributed system operator may have n number of loads connected here. And depending on the priority of other loads and depending on the availability of resources, then this DSO can communicate to this fast charging station operator that within a particular period of time, for example, 15 minutes, how much charging capacity can be available to this fast charging station. So based on that available capacity, right, within that 15 minutes of time, then this fast charging station operator can make the allocation of the charging capacity to different electric vehicle users, considering their requirements, right, considering their priorities also. And of course, when it is a heterogeneous electric vehicles users are there, and we are going to have some competition. So there may be this fast charging station operator may design some charging pricing mechanism based on the capacities also. So that is again another research work. So we will not focus on that pricing mechanism, but at this moment we will focus on distribution of charging capacity across the variety or across the heterogeneous electric vehicles which have been connected within that fast charging station to fulfill their requested demand within a short period of time. So here you can see that we are talking about the sustainable e-mobility, and to fulfill this electric mobility demand and to make the sustainability of the electric vehicles, of course, we have to work on developing the fast charging station. And when we are developing the fast charging station, now here you got the understanding that how this heterogeneous electric vehicle users, their high demand is going to create technical operational scenarios, right? And how that fast charging station has to manage that with reference to considering the grid constraints of the distributed system network. Are you able to understand now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So if you are not able to understand, please tell me, okay? Because I have to ask from time to time. So because in previous times I observed that I was speaking and the connection got lost. Okay, so if I ask something, you have to respond there, so then I can see that yes, our connection is live and we are participating in the lecture. Now, let's see, this is a scenario when electric vehicles or heterogeneous electric vehicles are connected within that fast charging station. But we know that within that particular area, there may be n number of electric vehicles which are outside of this fast charging station. So these n number of electric vehicles which are outside of the fast charging station, they may have the expected demand also, because and that expected demand is going to come based on their driving patterns or travel demand and so on and so forth. So let's say some of the electric vehicles which are outside of the fast charging station but within that particular area. So of course there is going to be some navigation platform. So through this navigation platform, those electric vehicles, those who are in need of the charging, they may explore the options like whether this fast charging station has some availability of the resources there or not, because they want to fulfill their demand also. So let's say some of the electric vehicles which are outside of this fast charging station, based on their charging and travel demand, they provided some information to this navigation control system or the platform. Okay, that is, of course, that is going to be based on the traffic network, on the traffic information. And then this navigation platform can communicate this information to this fast charging station, right? That how much expected charging demand is going to be there from the electric vehicles which are outside of the fast charging station. Okay, B, this fast charging station operator, it has a duty to fulfill the requirements of the electric vehicles which have been connected within the fast charging station, and some of them may be going, so it is going to be a dynamic. So based on that, and this fast charging station operator, with reference to the available real-time capacity from the distributed network operator, taking some short period of time, maybe 15 minutes or 1 hour, then can communicate that yes, this station has available resources, and then nothing is free. So those available resources, they can say, if you want to come, those resources will be available at a particular price, and that information will be communicated through this navigation platform to the electric vehicles which are outside of the fast charging station. And then based on that, then this electric vehicle users can make the decision whether it is economical to get their electric vehicle charged here and how their expected demand is there. So here you can see that how the fast charging station operation is going to be there with reference to the heterogeneous electric vehicles which are connected within the fast charging station and the expected arrivals which are outside of the fast charging station. And then of course it has to work in cooperation with distributed system operator, right? Because overall the electricity has to be supplied by the DSO to this fast charging station. So here we have not considered about any source which have been connected, but this scenario or what strategy, what we are discussing here, right? That strategy is going to be used for operation mechanism of a fast charging station. Now here you can see that. So this operation mechanism is going to be depending on geographical location also, because in every area there will be different type of electric vehicles, different type of demand. And if you're going to continue such type of work, so that work is going to have a very good field implementation there. Is it okay? I think someone is shared their screen, Santosh Verma. Can you stop it? Yeah. Is it okay now?
Yes, sir, it's okay now.
Yeah, very good. Now, I believe that with reference to the flow, this flow chart, you are in a position to understand technical and operational challenges which are going to be faced by fast charging station operator. Now, with reference to this one, okay, we have seen that we need to do the coordination of charging of the electric vehicles which have been connected here. So how we have to do the charging coordination, what type of positive impact is going to be there, what type of technical challenges are going to be, that we will discuss. So let's say positive impact, all of us we know that if we are going to utilize the e-mobility, we are going to contribute in reducing the CO2 emissions, and as well as advancement into the battery technologies are making to develop or produce the high capacity electric vehicles by the leading manufacturer. But the technical challenges is the charging time. Everyone wants to have the short charging time. And of course, when we want to charge our electric vehicles, we want to have the higher range anxiety or the charging economy, we can say. Then for that, we have to work on DC fast charging station, and of course deploying those fast charging station, but that is going to create the extra load to the network. In previous slide, we have seen that how this network capacity has to be integrated in doing the operation mechanism also. And of course, we have to consider the power system stability and the quality also. But at the same time, this expected high demand of electric vehicles are going to impacting electrical energy market also, and that may impact the domestic electrical energy pricing also. So that electricity market operation is going to be changing. That is again the negative impact of the electric vehicles. Now, we discussed in the previous slides that we need to develop charging coordination at the fast charging station with reference to the available resources at that particular time. So with reference to that, I'm just giving you some graphs from my work. Okay, so detail of these graphs, technical methodology, analysis, formulation, etc. have been given in my work. Okay, so that is the reference number 4, and that article is open access. So, and then because I know that most of the people, most of the participants, they are from academic background, and I don't want to bore them with all those mathematical equations and like that. But if you are interested in understanding those mathematical equation, probability functions, and so on and so forth, please refer that article. My objective here is like just to create your interest in electric vehicle charging management and coordination, especially at the fast charging station. Okay, and that is work is going to be very useful for every reason specific. Okay, so now let's say at a particular charging station, electric vehicles are coming and they are getting charged. So here some random loop on this fast charging station in per unit is given. So that, let's say that is a uncoordinated charge. Okay, but what we have seen here in this slide. This DSO is going to provide maximum charging capacity demand with reference to the time. Okay, so we have to respect this restriction provided by the DSO. So let's say on this slide, the restriction provided by the DSO is like this. So that is, let's say, the demand limit. It means that whatever the electric vehicles which we are connecting on this fast charging station should not exceed this demand limit. So then we have to do the coordination of the charge. So the coordination of the electric vehicles charging can be done using either adaptive charging or maybe fixed rate charging. If we apply the fixed rate charging, okay, then applying that fixed rate charging with reference to the dynamic demand limit, you can see that how the power demand is going to be there. But if we use the adaptive charging, then using the adaptive charging, we can fulfill the demand of the electric vehicles, right, even more shorter period of time, and that can help us to have more availability of resources for the vehicles which are again going to come at that fast charging station. So if we consider the demand limit imposed by the distributed network, and if we use the adaptive charging, let's say if we go fixed rate charging first. So if we use the fixed rate charging, so here you can see that with fixed rate charging, this green color, right, it is creating the blocking probability of the electric vehicles which are coming at that charging station, and that blocking probability is going to depend on their arrival rate. But in place of fixed rate charging, we use the adaptive charging. Then adaptive charging, if we use, then we are going to make the available resources more available with reference to the time. Then the blocking probability is going to be reduced with reference to the arrival rate of the electric vehicles at that particular charging station. So here you got the motivation that if we do the charging coordination of electric vehicles at the fast charging station, we are going to reduce the blocking probability of the expected arrival of the electric vehicles at that fast charging station. Okay, so that's what we want, because we want to have more demand, like, because here you see that many of the electric vehicles, they may be outside and they are maybe communicating here, so they also need to fulfill their expected demand, right? So for that purpose, here you can see that if we utilize the charging coordination using adaptive charging, we can reduce the blocking probability compared to the fixed rate charging. So that motivation you got. Now, coming to the fast charging station, we know that when we want to develop a fast charging station, or fast charging station aggregation also, we need to consider how we can maximize the profit of them and how we can minimize the impact of power grid and of course on the energy market also, and at the same time providing the quality service to the heterogeneous electric vehicle users or the customers also, right? For that, we need to understand by doing some techno-economic pricing also. First, we need to consider the traffic network And based on the traffic network, we have to find out the appropriate location where we can have the fast charging station, and that location. Again, it depends how the resources are available there, construction cost aspects, service quality aspects, grid stability aspects, and then for doing this analysis, we can use some typical techniques, for example, some optimization model or graph theory based model or Q theory based model also. But overall objective is that we have to find out the optimum siting and the size of this fast charging station considering the traffic network, okay, and expected demand also. So here, then when we got that one, already we discussed this one, but based on that location and like that, we need to do the techno-economic sizing of the system components, considering the energy storage, distributed generators, expected demand also, and then finding out how much capacity of the charging station should be there. So those factors are very important. Then let's say we did fast charging station design and deployment. Then the important thing is that how we are going to do the charging coordination. For doing the charging coordination, we need to do charging management and optimum scheduling. So let's say at a particular fast charging station, we may have a number of charging ports. And as we discussed earlier, each charging pool may have very high demand of 350 kilowatt or 400 kilowatt, something like that, and then number of charging ports is going to be there. And we discussed that there is going to be the heterogeneous electric vehicle users, and these heterogeneous electric vehicle users can be classified in maybe in two categories. Like for example, in this case, we classified in two categories. One is scheduled electric vehicles, and another one is like a real-time or opportunistic electric vehicles. So let's say scheduled electric vehicles, they may say that every day we will come to this charging station at a particular time and we will get fulfilled our demand. So we can call it, let's say, primary user. But there may be some real-time opportunistic electric vehicles. They can come at any time, but they are the secondary, because they are the opportunistic user. So how we have to do the coordination between this heterogeneous electric vehicles, that is very interesting. So now, based on that, we need to do some probability distribution, right? For example, what will be the arrival rate of the primary users or maybe scheduled electric vehicles? What will be the arrival rate or the probability of the arrival rate of the opportunistic users, and how we can get it fulfilled, their demand at the fast charging station, considering their expected departure also. So here, the priority will be going to the scheduled electric vehicles, but the secondary or the opportunistic electric vehicle users, they may have to leave this fast charging station depending on available resources and expected arrival of the scheduled electric vehicles, because this SCU is basically for the opportunistic vehicles. So how we have to do that coordination, that is a very interesting thing. Now that coordination, again, it depends, right? At n number of charging stations will be there, right? And then of course this n number of fast charging station may be owned by one company. So can do the aggregation of all fast charging stations and can shift the operation or shift this electric vehicle users from one station to another station. So for that, you see that how one has to do the dynamic allocation of electric vehicle users from sending them from one point to another point. And for that, we have to do the optimum scheduling also. For doing this optimum scheduling, of course, we need to consider control aspects, and within the control aspects, economic aspect is also very important, because this EV aggregator want to maximize the profit also and minimizing the EV charging cost. And then at the same time, operation aspects, they are very important. And through this, you can see that how we have to utilize the charging resources and how we can have the plug-in and plug-it-out time, waiting time, day-to-day frequency, charging time, service quality, grid stability. All these operational aspects are going to be there. Then, if we consider the timing aspects, that is also very important. Within the timing aspects, we may be aware that how the scheduled electric vehicles, they are going to come, but the real-time opportunistic electric vehicles, their probability of their arrival rate may be depending, right? But to manage that one, we may utilize some offline strategy or online strategies also. So mostly the online strategies will be utilized. So it means that navigation platform will be there. And for doing that analysis, we may need to consider some uncertainty aspects of the charging station also. For example, utility uncertainty, EV mobility, spatial and temporal variation, power supply uncertainty, pricing uncertainty, demand uncertainty, and of course, reliability of the system components also. So all these factors again going to impact the charging operation of the fast charging station. For doing all this analysis together before deploying any fast charging station, we can utilize different optimization model and different algorithms from that one, Q-based models and so on. So that tentative inputs which will be required for doing the charging management or coordination at a particular fast charging station, of course, we will need the energy pricing, power forecasting, mobility, utility constraints, grid constraints, battery constraints, user preferences, arrival rate, blocking probability, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that is going to be a very interesting thing. Now here, a very interesting flow chart have been given here. So at a particular aggregator, right, let's say aggregator 1, and different n number of charging stations are there. So here we have the energy controller, right? So this is the EV charging station level. Then on top of that, we have the charging station aggregation level, which will be above on that one. And on that one, we are going to have the power system operation level. But now we are more focusing at this level only. Okay, so now, as discussed earlier, considering this operation mechanism management, we have to consider the probability arrival rate of the primary users or the scheduled users, opportunistic users, and so on and so forth. So all these analysis with performance assessment, with complete mathematical modeling, with grid constraints have been published in some of my research work also. And two candidates, they did the PhD work on this topic, and their PhD thesis are available open access. So if you are interested, please refer those open access published articles as well as those PhD theses. Utilize them for your research work, for your teaching, or for designing or developing policy framework in implementing or deploying fast charging station and their operational mechanism also. So here you can see that some of the articles which I have just mentioned here, but most of these articles, they are open access, because in Europe and in Norway, we believe in democratization of research. It means that whatever the research work which we are doing, it should be open access and it should be used by all public around the globe, because whatever the research work we are doing, it is a public funded research. So it should not be in the subscription model, right? What I observed that most of the Indian institutions, they are moving towards, or they are forcing their staff to have articles published into the subscription model. So that is against the policy of democratization of research. I don't know why the Indian public funded institution, they are using that approach rather than making the democratization of research. In my personal view, it is not appropriate use of the public funding. because we want whatever the research which we are doing with the public funding, it should be available through open access to all the public who don't have this subscription also. And also for the people who are in poor countries also, for example, Africa or somewhere, they don't have the resources, but they also want to do the work, right? So they can also assess the research work. Considering all these factors into account, whatever the work I did with reference to this today's topic, they are open access, and I request you to refer them in understanding the methodology with reference to this operational mechanism management for electric vehicle charging for heterogeneous traffic, considering the different priorities into account. Okay, so these are available here. You feel free. For example, here we have taken that how the opportunistic electric vehicle users can be used, right, for effective utilization of the available charging resources at the fast charging station. Similarly, we did one work. If suppose at a particular fast charging station, if some of the equipment are failed, so how that equipment failures can be considered, right, in operating that fast charging station in a more reliable manner, or how it is going to work, that also been covered here. So conclusion is that we need to have fast charging station. When we are deploying this fast charging station, we will of course use some international standards, some architecture, and based on that, of course, we need to find out the optimal location also, optimum sizing also, and then we need to understand, depending on the in that particular area, traffic patterns, driving cycles, etc., how we can fulfill the user requirements. For that, we need to do the performance assessment. So I believe that some of the work which have been done by my research team may be useful for that one also. And of course, then we have to understand that how the performance parameter, for example, resource utilization, available resource utilization with reference to the time, blockage, service interruption, completion, waiting time, all these factors are going to be very important. So here you can see that there is a lot of scope for doing further work with reference to the fast charging station, considering a particular geographical location. And I'm looking forward to have more active cooperation, academic cooperation with all of you in working towards the sustainability of e-mobility, and we can contribute in reducing the greenhouse gas emission so that our next generation, they can have the clean environment and healthy life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an informative and technically rich session. And you have opened us a new perspective in the area of EV charging navigation framework and FCS control system. So thank you so much. So now we have opened the floor for the question and answer session. So participant, please move ahead and please be quick.
Good evening, sir. These days we see a lot of electric charging stations are there and electric vehicles are also there. But the market is not stable. The batteries, they are they are not safe. We have seen fire everywhere. So what is the solution? The batteries will be more versatile, more safe in future.
Yes. So your question is very good. Everything depends on what standards have been applied or by the regulators. If we take, let's say, in European situation, okay, and let's say from the Norwegian situation point of view, where I'm located, on the road, you can see out of 10 vehicles, 7 or 8 vehicles are pure electric. Okay, And if you take the statistics in last couple of years, around 98-99% electric, vehicles which have been sold into the market, they are pure electric. So if we consider all those statistics into account and operational scenarios into account, I have not observed any type of electric fire due to the battery on Norwegian system. So it means that if this such type of things are happening at somewhere, it means that the quality of the batteries which might have been supplied there might have not been up to that standard. There may be some compromise with reference to the technical quality of the batteries. So for that purpose, personally, I believe that regulator has to implement some strict regulations on the batteries to avoid such type of accidents.
Actually, sir, considering the fuel efficiency and the future market, so I was planning to buy Activa, which is electric scooter, and then I was also planning to buy electric car. But there are so many instances on Facebook, videos, social media. I've seen car catching fire, Activa catching fire because of the battery. So that's why I have not purchased
Yeah,
any electric vehicle.
I understand your concerns because I mean, depending on the market and regulation, it means like the which have the vehicles which have been sold into that market may not be up to that standard. That's why the people are providing their user experiences, right? So if we consider, let's say, a Norwegian condition, right? So here the users, they have very good experiences, right? There is not any type of fire or any type of accident due to the batteries from the electric vehicles and like that. So I agree with you, and we have to consider the user user experiences while buying the electric vehicles at a particular geographical location. I absolutely agree with you, right? And we should buy when everything is completely mature. Health and safety is on top, should be on top priority.
Right, sir. And moreover, the battery price is too much. So once the battery price is low, then only one should go for it.
Yes, yes, of course. And everything depends on the regulation, government regulations also. They have to put
Right, sir.
strict regulations on that one.
Thank you, sir. It was a very informative session. So nice of you.
So, any other questions? Thank you, Varun.
Hello, sir.
Yes, please.
I'm also a EV car owner, sir. And
can you speak a little louder, Amit?
sir, I'm also a EV car owner. What I am actually facing in peak summer or peak winter time, there are a lot of battery drainage issues. Sudden battery drop was there, and most of the time the range anxiety is also associated with these car. Okay, each time I have to look into the speedometer and the range, whatever the left, that uh, the
Yes,
charging
thank you,
part
Amit.
in
I
India,
understood your
basically,
problem.
there are
Due to
not
the
that much.
weather parameters or changing weather, the operation or the performance of the electric vehicles are changing, right? So that is a very good point. Let's say if we consider the Norwegian situation, where we have all maybe 4-5 months sub-zero temperature, okay, a lot of snowfall, okay, and always we need to heat our electric vehicle also. So for the heating of those vehicles, especially electric vehicles, we are using the batteries also. So of course the performance or the mileage is reduced during the winter time, but still the people are very happy here. I have not seen any issues due to this strong climatic condition or drastic climatic condition impacting the user experience. Of course, the mileage have been reduced. Okay, so and again, it depends that the electric vehicles which have been sold into a particular market, what type of thermal management within that batteries have been implemented, what the regulators they have asked to implement that. So that is another very interesting point, because we know that we need to work on appropriate thermal management of the batteries during these dynamic loading conditions. Maybe some of the manufacturers, to reduce the cost, they may not be implementing the thermal management within those electric vehicles also. So it all depends like how the regulators are imposing the restrictions on these electric vehicles, right? So that they can perform well in different climatic conditions.
Sir, one last question, sir. Uh, Sir, is that performance of a car depend on the auxiliary battery also?
Please repeat again.
Sir, is the EV car performance also depend on the auxiliary battery, the secondary battery, which are
No, no. We don't have the time, because like I have a car, okay, which is a hybrid, plug-in hybrid. Okay, it has a solar panel on the roof. Okay,
okay,
and it is a plug-in also, and it is having the IC engine also. It has a 3 batteries. Auxiliary battery is different. Main battery is different. Okay, and then again the startup battery is again different. Okay, so there is this leading manufacturer. They are making all these different combination of the batteries for the different purposes. So it all depends how the car have been designed. Any other further questions?
Yes, participants, do you have any questions?
No question, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so so now we are closing the question and answer session, and I would like to request everyone to please switch on your camera. We have to take screenshot, please.
Maybe one last point I will share with you.
Yes, sir, please.
Yeah, can you see my screen now?
No, sir.
Noted.
Yes, sir, now it's visible.
Is visible now?
Yeah, yes, sir.
What you can see now?
So paper, parked electric cars.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now here, because that Amit, I think he asked me this regarding the batteries. Okay, so this is my car. You can see the car here.
yes,
Yes, sir.
This is my car. It is a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. On the roof, it has a solar panels. You can see the solar panels here.
Yes, sir. It is visible, sir. On the top.
And with one charge, it can go up to 60 kilometer. And then with hybrid combination, it has the average of around 2 liter per 100 kilometer. It has a 3 batteries, one main battery, another is auxiliary battery, which is powered by the solar photovoltaic panel. That battery have been used for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. And then another is the startup batteries. And you can see that I did some work on how we have to do electric vehicles cabin heat management using photovoltaic powered ventilation system in 2019. Okay, and this car which I'm using now from the Toyota, it is manufactured in 2020 also. So I believe that some of the research work which I did with reference to that one might have been utilized by the Toyota in doing this ventilation management also. So if you are interested in understanding this one, please refer these two articles. Okay, you will be in a position to understand. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for giving your valuable time. Sir, can I proceed or the screen
Yes, yes, now you
short?
can.
Okay, okay. Bhaumik, sir?
Yes, I'm there. I'm taking.
Okay. Participants, please switch on your camera. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you once again, Dr. Kolhe, for giving your valuable time. Thank you.
And good for your learning.
Thank you, Kolhe sir.
So with this, we conclude the technical session for day 3 of the program. Thank you, everyone.
Ma'am, I have submitted feedback. Can I leave now, ma'am? Ma'am, I have submitted feedback. Can I leave now?
Yes, sir. You can leave now. If you have submitted, you can leave now.
Thank you,
Good night,
sir.
Good night. Good night. The participants, those who have given the feedback, so you can leave now. who need to stay over there.